For those of you who are just joining me for the first time, weren't here for my previous two sessions, I'm Paul Richer. I run a management consultancy called Genesis, and we advise on technology in the travel industry. And I've organized today's seminars in this room. And the other thing I mentioned before, if you haven't been here, if you want copies of the presentations, the speakers will make them available. Let me have your business card after the session, and then I'll drop you an email when those presentations are available online. If you've already given me a business card, don't do it again, that's fine, because the web page I'll put up will have links to all the presentations that are available. So we're talking about social media, a hugely important subject, and actually our first two sessions this morning on content, and before that on search engine marketing, mentioned social media, and social's just a big, big thing. Let me just set up our first speaker. And here we are then, to kick us off with the first two presentations, then we'll have some questions. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Jacob Rieger, who's co-founder and managing director of TrustYou. Let's give him a welcome.
Thanks, Paul. So I'm going to talk about in social media, which is a concept and methodology, a very simple one, for hotels, how to deal with social media. Now, before we start, I would like to do a quick quiz of the audience and ask to raise your hand, who of you, when you booked your hotel to come to London, use social media or review site to look at the hotel before booking it? Please raise your hands. Okay. Maybe you're too shy or it's after lunch, I don't know. Generally, there are many different studies, but the overall outcome is always that it's about 80% of people that book online actually use review websites and social media before making their decision. And that's why it's so relevant. It has a direct impact on revenues. And I think there's always a lot of discussion about ROI with social media and do we really need it or how do we get involved as a hotel. And I think that's basically the number to look at. It has a direct impact, so there's no question about it. Now, on the other hand, there's a lot of mythology in a way, and I'm going to try to present the circle of trust as a very simple concept here to get a clearer picture of what's actually going on. Now, there are few people that write reviews that are on social media. They post their comments, and that can be found on the search engines and so forth, and it's made available on these platforms. That influences other users who are looking for that information before making their booking, and ultimately their booking decision. And in the end, new guests are generated by that, and that's when it becomes a circle of trust, because the more people you find through that way and that become guests, eventually some of them will post on social media, and then again the influence starts and so forth. So we have 3 steps that we tell hoteliers to do. First one, listen. Know what's being said about your hotel. Second step, understand, analyze what people are saying about you. It's valuable information that you can use to improve your services, to better understand the marketplace. And last but not least, use this type of information to convince others to make the booking with you and stay in your hotel. And that ultimately is the goal. It's bookings and more revenue. How can you actually make sure people are writing about you so that you can, in the end, listen to them? And I'm going to tell you a big secret that nobody's really nobody really knows about so much, is that asking your guests to write a review is actually very valuable, and the response rates you're getting when you're asking your guests to write a review directly with you or with a tool that you're supplying is very high. So in the past, it used to be offline, you know, these cards that you had in your room. Now you can do this online. And there are review sites like TripAdvisor that provide tools for you to collect these reviews directly on your homepage and so forth for free. They're professional tools that you need to pay for, but there are ways how to directly talk to your guests. And the numbers are really staggering. When we're looking at our database of review information and we compare what's out there on the most popular review sites, on the OTA websites, in terms of number of reviews, and compare that to hotels and hotel chains that use their internal guest survey system that asks the guests after checkout to write a review, we get 10 to 20 times more reviews when people are being asked to respond directly. So it's a really big factor, and it's a great way of generating content yourself. So how can you make sure to understand and analyze everything that's going on? The second step in the circle of trust. The problem is there's simply so many different websites, so many different platforms where content is on. And it just takes a lot of time to look at all of that. It's a chaos. It's growing every day, and it's very difficult to monitor all of that. So when you look at a typical hotel that wants to monitor all their reviews and, let's say, a comp set of 5 to 10 competitors, other hotels where they also want to see what's going on and what's being written about them, you're looking at numbers like this. So it's like 10,000 reviews on 50 different websites, and so much information is really difficult to digest. So we estimated for a single property hotel to read all of that, you would need 25 days. That's like a full-time job. Or for a hotel chain, if it's a small hotel chain, you can spend like 300 days, which is more than a year's worth of work. So what can you do about it? How can you get a sense of what's going on? And I'm going to now show you in a live demonstration the capabilities of semantic technology, which is able to automatically analyze what's in that chaos, identify the key concepts, and give back an overview that can be read and digested in a short time. So let me switch back into a web browser. This is called the Magic Box. Our developers call it that way. And it does some magic. So what I'm going to do in this white box, I'm just going to copy a long review. This is actually a hotel in London. And I'm highlighting this review, copying and entering it into the magic box. So all that text is there. Take a long time to read it all now. And I simply click on this button, and the semantic engine in the background that we employ automatically identifies the key concepts and the key phrases of this review. And now imagine that being done for thousands and thousands of reviews automatically. That's how you can grasp what's going on, and only in that way. Now, this is a fairly technical view on this. How can this actually look if used in a hotel? So that's a screen from our dashboard, our monitoring tool. And it basically shows you all of the different websites that hotel is being reviewed on and where people write about it, and giving overview statistics on what's going on. The other thing you can do is really dig deep into the analysis and look at the different areas, and that's what many hotels do. They go to their Monday morning meetings with staff and go through the different areas of the hotel and analyze what has been said. So it's like a almost free quality insurance program that you get when looking at all of that information people write about your hotel. And last but not least, you can use it to benchmark yourself against competing hotels. Because the information is free and is available, you can look at what's going on at these other hotels and what are they doing good or bad, and you can use that for your marketing approach and for your internal processes. So, third step in the circle of trust. How can you actually convince guests to book with you? How can you use that information to generate more bookings? Simplest one, simply respond to the reviews on the big platforms like TripAdvisor. People will read your response, they will see you are taking care, and that builds trust and is a very simple mechanism that you can use. Other things are you can embed widgets like, for example, Holiday Check and TripAdvisor with this hotel group that give a summary for the user before making a booking on the website of what people have written. This can be done also non-branded. This is Best Western, who's actively putting review website scores and so forth and OTA scores of reviewers into their booking engine so that you can look at all these different website scores and the reviews while being on the Best Western website. Another aspect, I know in the UK currently there's a big discussion about the star rating and how to improve the star rating. Actually, the Swiss and the Germans are already using social media and review content as part of their classification process to determine how many stars a hotel will get. And this is a view from the website of the Swiss Hotel Association where some of those modules are being integrated, and these are then seen by the inspectors who go into the hotels and look for the things and the checks they do for the star rating. Micros, a partner of ours, they've integrated review information and this quality seal that we have into the booking engine, so that when someone is right in the process, already decided to make the booking, to put another kind of convincer in that process, it helps drive up conversion quite significantly. But there are other ways. This is probably a bit small to read. This is an application from our monitoring dashboard, and it monitors what's going on Twitter. We call it the lead generator for hotels. So it's actually looking, for example, for London, for anybody on Twitter asking for a recommendation on a hotel in London, and we can automatically identify that with the semantics that I showed to you earlier, that somebody is actually looking for in whatever ways they describe it, and then we can alert the hotel, and the hotel can make an offer. Say, hey, you're looking for a hotel in London, we have a great offer to make to you, why don't you book with us? So, to sum up, 3 steps, very simple. Listen, understand, and convince. And we are a vendor that offers all 3 aspects in a holistic approach. There are many other players for these different parts that you can look at and select the one that fits best for your hotel and your strategy and what you want to achieve. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jacob. Come and sit down. You can take Debbie's place there, and let me just switch machines. And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Debbie Hindle, Managing Director for BGB.
Thank you. It's really impressive to see the room so full at World Travel Market on the subject of social media. I've heard over many conferences in the last couple of years people say, it's about time people stopped asking, is it time people stopped asking why we should do social media and how we should do social media. So I hope that the number of people in this room is evidence of that trend. But I think sometimes people working in social media, in any industry, can believe their own propaganda. So I'd like to first start by doing a similar exercise. I'd just like to gauge some of the views from the people in the room today. And I'm going to ask you whether you're one of three groups. So just put your hand up if you think this group fits your experience. Who in the room, group one, is really heavily involved in social media and driving activity? All hands up. Great. Okay, I'd probably say about a quarter. Gentleman on the right, you put your hand up, didn't you? What's your name? Richard. Hello, Richard. Richard, you're in group one. Okay, we're going to make this quite social, I've decided. Group two. Who's actually started in social media? You feel you're driving your activity, but you're still learning the ropes and you still feel there's a lot to learn. Group two. Probably about the same, I'd say. Okay. Lady in the pink, did you just put your hand up? What's your name? Katie. Hello, Katie. You're group two. You're our leader of group two. Now, group three, I'm sure there are some people in the room. You're the skeptics. You're sitting there thinking, what's all this about? I really don't think there's any point, but I'm going to go along and see what it's all about anyway. Who's a skeptic? A very proud person in the front, one in the side. Actually, very few skeptics. What's your name? Aurelia. Aurelia. Yes. Excellent. Welcome, Aurelia. Now, well, that's my next point. There's another group in the room who haven't put their hands up yet. And you know who you are. I'm not going to shame you. But you've obviously not made your minds up yet. You're not sure which group you're in, and that's absolutely fine because this world is moving very fast. So we've got three groups. We've got Richard, fast, Katie, getting there, Aurelia, not interested, not quite sure what it's all about. So it's quite an interesting market. There isn't, as you can see, there isn't general consensus. There's a lot of expertise in the room, which is fantastic, but it's not a simple answer. And back out in the real world with a lot of clients and companies that I'm talking to, there's real fear and there's real misunderstanding about what social media can do. So I'm a practical girl, and I think the best way to illustrate social media is with case studies. Let's see what other people are doing. Let's learn from that because that's the way the market's moving. So what I want to do for Aurelia, before we kick off actually, is just say, I think there are 4 reasons, for the skeptics who haven't put up their hands as well, there are 4 reasons why you really should be considering social media. And the first, as you've heard, it's the best possible custom research tool you'll ever have in the world. And I think in the States there's research that's shown that 2/3 of consumers are more likely to recommend a brand to their friends once they've engaged with it on Facebook. It's a huge retention and advocacy tool. It's also very valuable, as we all know, for natural search and for generating website traffic. And half of US consumers are now saying they've clicked through to a company website because of social media. And fourth, it's the best customer reward and potential sales channel that you should be considering. And I think World Travel Market's own research this week said that 22% of industry leaders they'd surveyed said they were using social media as a revenue stream. So there's a lot out there that people should be considering. So that's all very well, I hear you say, group 2, but how are we going to do it? So the first case study I want to just touch on is Visit Britain. I'm sure some of the people in the room were at the Travolution conference, the Travolution Summit, just last month. And Visit Britain was highlighted as one of the best examples of social media practice in the UK at the moment. Because it's actually, not necessarily for volume, but because of the level of engagement that its platforms have. For every post on Facebook, it gets on average 1,000 levels of engagement. And that's a huge amount of engagement. If you've got a Facebook page with millions of fans but nobody commenting on it, it's a bit like an empty room. Visit Britain's Facebook page is a bit like a party. It's more like this room today. You know, everybody's in there wanting to talk about it and engage with it. And they've done it because it's a really well-managed community. They started off with the listening part, which is so essential, which everyone will tell you need to do first. It engages and it rewards fans in the social space. And it goes outside social media to bring people into it. I particularly like this competition, which they ran around the world. They commissioned pavement artists in major cities around the world. And so you could be in Paris and you could stand on a piece of street art and make it look as if you were walking across Abbey Road. And then you had to go to the Facebook page to register to get your picture and become a fan. And there you are, looking like you're on Abbey Road, and you can then join in the party. So a really clever way of getting people onto the social media site. They've now got more than 500,000 fans, which is very impressive. And if you simply look at this slide, on the day I grabbed it, this image had only been up for a little while, and it already had 500 likes and 100 comments within a few hours. Now, social media isn't just Facebook, of course. It's huge, it's important, but it's not the only thing. And go and have a look at Visit Britain's platforms, because they're doing things very cleverly. I particularly like their Superblog, which is a regular slice of fresh opinion and content from bloggers that they've commissioned to give independent ideas and advice. Great for SEO, but great for content. Great to get a new view on what's happening and an independent voice. And there may be 30 million British users on Facebook at the moment, but there's also 20 million people who are registered on YouTube. And there was a bit of a debate in the previous session about whether video was important. But YouTube is massive, absolutely massive. I'm afraid I use my poor teenage children as a two-panel research organisation, and they're always on YouTube and Facebook. And there's 5 million on Twitter, 3.2 million on Flickr, 2.6 million on LinkedIn in the UK. Those are all big numbers. You've got to have the right content and the right place, and that's exactly what Visit Britain's done. Wherever you go, there's something that's sociable, engaging and informing that makes you either want to do business with Visit Britain or go and travel to Britain. So that's my first example. And I can already hear the skeptics in the audience saying, so what? It's just a lot of chat. What does it matter if one person likes a picture or likes my country or likes my brand? So I'm going to give you some examples that will drill down a little further into this. My next example is my client Viator, and it's the world's largest retailer of pre-bookable tours and attractions around the world. You can book a helicopter flight over New York, which is what I want to do, or do a Segway tour of Paris, so all over the world. 800 destinations, 900 products, and it's a B2B distributor for 3,000 brands. So if you go onto an airline site and buy a pre-bookable tour, it might be a white-labeled Viator product. Up until this year, Viator was very focused on search engine optimization and pay-per-click, but took a decision to focus on social media and PR this year. And in July this year, they started developing destination-specific media platforms. So if you've booked your flight and your holiday, actually, I'm going to go. Yeah. If you've booked your flight and holiday to Rome, for example, you'll find a Things to Do in Rome Viator blog, a Things to Do in Rome Facebook page, dedicated Facebook page, and a Twitter account. So 3 platforms for one destination it features. Now, I think that's a really interesting approach. I've not seen it done myself like this before. But what I think is really impressive is the fact that they're doing it on a considerable scale. They're creating 83 Facebook pages, 83 Twitter accounts, and 83 blogs for the key destinations that they feature. So you don't just find things to do in Rome. If you're searching things to do in Rome, you could find things to do in the Caribbean, things to do in Melbourne. 83 of the key destinations, they now have 3 platforms for each. And they're also developing these in English, French, German, Spanish, and Japanese. They started this process in July this year, so they're moving fast. And they've got 60 destination platforms now live. They've generated 20,000 visits to their website and 345,000 page views. It's early days, but you can see the scale that they're operating to. Again, I can hear the skeptics saying, that's a lot of effort. Why would I want that many Facebook pages? I still don't understand why they're bothering. Viator knows that this is going to help natural search performance, but it's also doing it because it has commercial return. And I know this is a hot potato, and I know there are people that say that social commerce should not be done, and the social world should be pure and not tarnished by commercial understanding. But I'm afraid I don't agree with the discussion that people don't want to buy in a social environment. They might not want to book on a Facebook Buy Me Now tab, but they're in there and they want to engage with your brand. And if they want to buy, then it might be appropriate to give them that opportunity. What they don't want is the e-commerce experience in the social world. About 10 years ago, I remember having arguments with clients that they really needed a website. Probably 20 years ago. I'm becoming younger as I get older. And what they often did, as you I'm sure have all seen, is put a brochure on a website and then gradually understood that a website needed a different way of communicating and a different way of structuring that information. And I think we're in the same world with social. Social needs to be social. You can't just replicate an e-commerce experience in a Facebook page. You've got to listen, you've got to have the conversation, you've got to respond to what people are saying, and then you can talk to them about extra value, give them extra value to convert. And Viator puts this much more succinctly than I've just done. Content drives engagement and value drives conversion. I'm not saying that everybody who has a social media campaign should try and make it commercial. I'm just saying don't discount it, because there are people out there that are doing it or even tracking the benefit of it in a commercial way. So how do you know this works if you're engaging with some commercial messages as well? Simple tracking tools can tell you if someone who's come to your site from Facebook has made a booking or not. Viator tracks this, looks at the cost of their social media, and has identified a value to that Facebook fan. So far, a Facebook fan to Viator is worth more than $3, and a Twitter follower is worth 38 cents. And this is all early data, but they're tracking it very, very carefully to make sure that they know what their return on investment is. So that's an exceptional commitment to social media. I'm not sure many people in the room would want to set up 83 Facebook pages and 83 blogs. So I'm just going to give you an example before I finish of one company that has one set of platforms to give you a different experience. My company, 4 Communications, works for the adventure travel company, Exodus Travels. And when our digital team started working with them, they had 700 fans on Facebook. And Exodus customers are absolutely passionate about their trips. They're often really life-changing things, going to see the polar bears. It makes people want to talk about it and share it with friends. So the first thing we did was got people engaged in sharing pictures. We listened to the community. We got them engaged in sharing their stories and their images. And we integrated this as well with a classic online PR campaign. So some of the images that we're using in social media, we were posting up in gallery guides on AOL, MSN, and the online sites of traditional print media sites like Mail Online. And once we got to 1,600 fans, we started a major campaign called 7 Continents, which ran over 7 months to give a bit more back to the community. It was a fun, engaging competition. It wasn't about driving up fans for the sake of it. It was about getting people engaged. And as you can see from this slide, it worked. Over the year, Fans increased by 200%, but engagement increased by 260%. And it's still increasing. Now, like Viator, we put tracking links on our Facebook posts. It wasn't intended as a commercial driver. We just wanted to see the impact of it as we went through it. And Exodus confirmed to us that more than 300 people who entered this competition went on to make a booking and booked a trip. And 71% of those were first-time customers who hadn't booked with them before. And they tracked the value of those bookings to £1 million. So yes, social media is chatter, but it's actually engaging with people. I hope the people who are here, who are already engaged in social media, who are the experts, can contribute and have found something useful from some of my client experiences. And for those new entrants, some extra ideas that you can learn and put into practice in your own campaigns. And for the skeptics among you, maybe just a few extra things to think about, because you can just start something, commit to a particular platform and trial it and see what happens. It's still really early days in social media, and we all have a lot to learn, and nobody is an expert in this field at all. For World Travel Market, I like to share as much information as I can in this, because I'd like more people to be involved and engaged in it across the industry. So for World Travel Market, we've produced a report about general trends, but it also has 2 pages on social media trends as well, and top trends for 2012 and beyond, which I'm happy to talk about. We also have an international network of agencies, so there are 10 countries' top data, including social media trends from Brazil to Italy. And earlier this year, we did a more detailed report on social trends, which is very out of date because it was produced in May. But again, if anybody wants a copy, I'm very happy to send it to them. Thank you.
Jacob, do you want to come and sit at the table? Thank you, Debbie, and thank you, Jacob. Two great presentations, and time to ask our presenters some questions. Who'd like?